Welcome to another edition of Journey of Hope. True stories with people that are encountering challenges along life's way. Our special guests today are from California and from Carolina. Jim, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from.
Well, my name is Jim Ice. I'm from Grand Terrace, California. My background is I was raised in Downey, and I went on to school at Northern Arizona University and played football there. In addition, I had over 22 years in corporate office as a corporate officer in insurance companies, and then opened my own business, and I've had that for about 22 years in the pension financial business.
So you've been in California for quite a while then?
Actually, they moved me around. We were in Dallas, we were in Chicago, we were in Hartford, Connecticut, we were in Ohio. So I did a lot of, let's say, corporate transfer.
So you've been in California for quite a while. You said you played football. What were you doing? What position were you?
Well, I played fullback and outside linebacker. In those days, we had to play both ways. And
you had a good team?
Went to the Holiday Bowl.
Oh, really?
So, yes. So it was a good team. 3 people turned pro on the team. So.
And I understand when you were in high school that you were part of some kind of a Bible study club.
Yes. We had the largest Bible club in the United States.
Really?
Yes. We had over 1,000 people attending in the school. And it was marvelous. It was we had people in the auditorium. We had people coming in, and so it was a wonderful thing.
Amazing.
Different than today.
Yeah, much different. Lee, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your background, and schooling, and so forth.
I'm from Roanoke, Virginia, and been out there for about 35 years practicing OBGYN. My training, I've actually finished it here at Loma Linda in my training doing a 5th pathway, and I was raised in California originally, but then we settled out there in Virginia, and I've been practicing OBGYN since that time.
And what about a family?
I have 3 sons. I have my oldest finished at Loma Linda University, and he's an anesthesiologist in Virginia. My middle son also went to Loma Linda, finished there, and he's an emergency room department physician, also practicing in Virginia. And my 3rd son is in dental school, and he's in his 2nd year here at Loma Linda University.
So you are heavily invested in Loma Linda.
Yes, yes.
All right.
My wife is a nurse. She finished at Loma Linda, and my mother and my wife's father, and we've had quite a few that have gone through Loma Linda, yes.
Well, so it's amazing coincidence that bring 2 of you guys together. Both of you end up coming here to be treated for prostate cancer. So tell us a little bit how you learned about Loma Linda, even though you live in the area. How did you learn about it? You were diagnosed. How did you learn about Loma Linda?
I had a good friend in high school who's now the president of Shasta Bible College. He had prostate cancer. He stayed with us in Grand Terrace to go through the program. He told me about the wonderful things that were going on. And later, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
So when he came, you thought nothing of it?
No, I was
glad to provide a home.
That's exactly.
You guys have been in high school together?
That's right. That's right. And my first objective, obviously, was to come to a faith-based hospital, number 1. Number 2 was to be cancer-free. In other words, I had aggressive prostate cancer, and it was moving rapidly, and so I was very concerned about that, and I wanted to be cancer-free. And that's what my single purpose was.
So Dave, the fellow that was here before, stayed with you, and that's how you learned a little bit more about Loma Linda.
Yes.
Even though you're in the community,
yes, that's
sometimes
correct.
You don't know really what's going on right down the street.
No, even though I did, work out at Drayson and ran across people over in the pool that were going through the treatments. I heard what their stories were, but he was primarily giving me the whole information, many facets of your program. That was really terrific.
Amazing. Lee, what about you? Have you had any cancer in the family before?
I have. My father died of cancer, but myself, I've had no other cancer myself. But
What kind of cancer did he have?
His original diagnosis was a parotid gland cancer, but they weren't totally convinced that was the primary. It was metastatic disease basically. Now I do have two uncles that died of prostate cancer.
So it was in the family then.
Yes.
Okay. So what's the first thought when you find out you have prostate cancer? You're a physician. You're a surgeon.
Right. Well, yeah, it's one thing when you're taking care of patients, and then it's all of a sudden you're facing what your patients have faced. I mean, I was stunned trying to figure out what to do, the treatment that's available. There's, as you know, different treatment options for prostate cancer, and I wasn't sure which way I was going to go, but I was favoring the surgical option. I had interviewed at Johns Hopkins for the surgery, and
they got a remarkable experience there.
Yeah, they've had very good success. But after careful consideration, research, prayer, and you know, teaming up with my family, making this decision, we contacted Bob Marcini, who wrote the book on prostate cancer, and he was a wonderful source. But we finally decided that, you know what, I need to go to Loma Linda University, the Proton Center. That had the fewest side effects, but yet still with wonderful results. And that's what we decided. And
now they have proton centers on the East Coast and down south. I mean, you know, they got over 23, 24 centers here in the country now, but you came all the way across the country.
Yes, there's a lot of factors involved there, but not the least of which is Loma Linda's been doing the proton treatments longer than any institution in the country, and I wanted to go to somewhere that had that kind of a background and had such wonderful results. Plus the fact that my father-in-law went through the same treatment here with prostate cancer and had good results as well.
Yeah.
So.
Now, if I remember right, you had a hard time getting insurance. You had some real problems with insurance.
Right. Yeah. The insurance from the get-go was saying that they were not going to cover, and so I was told that from the get-go. Even here, sitting at Loma Linda, going through this. But that was I certainly was hoping that was going to be ultimately taken care of, but it was not going to change anything. I'd made up my mind that we were going to go through this. I was totally convinced that this is the way to go.
So you and your wife Patty came out and spent the whole 9-10 weeks here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And at the same time, there was another gentleman in treatment, this fellow right here, Jim. So you ended up coming over here at about the same time, and the two of you have an amazing background and a series of coincidences. You know, in God's eyes, there are no accidents.
Amen.
And we don't believe that anybody comes to Loma Linda here by accident. I mean, there are multiple ways of different places people can go, but when people come here to Loma Linda, we're absolutely convinced that no one comes by accident. So tell us the story of how the two of you had family connections long before you ever got here. You didn't know each other. You'd never met each other before. Jim, tell us a little bit about your school experience.
Well, the issue was I was in charge of entertainment when I came here, and Lee was playing the piano on the level B, and I thought to myself, people really enjoyed his playing on the piano, and so I asked Lee to entertain for the potluck.
The Tuesday night potluck.
Yeah, the Tuesday night
where a
potluck.
group of patients
right.
come together.
That's right. And he accepted, and we started to get to know each other. And Patty says she's in Lee. They were driving from Long Beach and pretty close to Lakewood. And I said, yeah, I lived in Downey. And Patty comes up with the idea that she says, well, Lee lived in Downey. And I said, great, when? And so we started a conversation on background and found out that we really were living in Downey at the same time. The thing of it is, though, Lee's considerably younger than I am. He was about 5, and I was about...
In fact, somebody wanted to know if it was father-son, but I know that it wasn't true.
And I was 17 at the time, and Lee asked me the question, did you know my brother Bob? And it just about, it just threw me right back into Bob. And Bob was
his brother.
Yeah, Bob was his brother. He was a sophomore, and I was a senior. He played junior varsity football. I knew him, and I played the varsity team. And Bob was killed on the football team. They were playing a school, and he was hit, and it was a tragic situation that took place.
Well, now let me stop right there. So all of this is beginning to unfold, and were you part of that conversation at this point, or was it just Patty?
Oh no, we were all part of this conversation. Yeah, at the time when we found this out, and it was shocking when we found this out.
So we're talking about how many years ago?
50. Bob. It was fall of 58, 1958.
1958.
Right, fall of 1958.
And the two of you guys had never met before.
No.
And all of a sudden, this story begins to unfold. So your brother got killed on the football team. And you and your folks were very active in one of the Seventh-day Adventist churches there. And what happened after he died? Tell us a little bit about what you remember.
Well, at age 5, I mean, I was certainly young, but I remember being at the game. I remember that the ambulance came onto the field and took him to the hospital, and that night he died. Mm-hmm. But after he died, my father and mother set up a scholarship or an award, basically in memory of my brother. My brother was a tremendous athlete. Mm-hmm. He was a very good student. He had skipped a grade, and he had some qualities about him that were pretty special. And they set up this award.
Now, your father was a physician also?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they set up an award in honor of your brother Bob.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And how was the award supposed to be given? Was it a one-time thing or every year? Or?
Every year. This started, and it went on for many, many years, at least 35 to 40 years afterwards. It continued at that same high school, the award. It was a cherished award. It was based on scholarship, grades,
academics.
Academics he had to be an outstanding athlete as well.
He or she?
No, it was a he.
It was a he.
It was a
okay.
he, and he needed to have integrity. He had to have he just had to have an outstanding character. It was more than just getting grades, having grades.
Kind of well-rounded personality, involved in the school and the community, and so they would choose they probably had some kind of a process where they selected narrowed it down, and then selected the outstanding leader for that particular year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was chosen by the student body and the staff,
the faculty,
and then ultimately they sat down with my mom and dad and then decided on the recipient.
That would be. So this went on for many, many years. And then as this conversation is unfolding and Jim begins to realize, his memory goes back, who was the first recipient of that award?
Jim, I'll let you tell them.
Well, first of all, my memory cells show that when Bob died, the whole school mourned. I mean, mourned. And I went to the Seventh-day Adventist church, and the crowds were not only around the building and down, and everyone, but there was some wonderful good that came out of this situation. People, the school started looking into, what if I died? What would happen to me? Where would I go? And so there was a tremendous spiritual aspect that took place at that particular time. And some of my best friends right now, later, after they graduated, became Christians because of the situation that took place. So it was a tragedy. I still, when I think about it, I can hardly comprehend the whole situation. But there was good. Bob was an outstanding athlete. Bob was an outstanding person. And his dad, Lee's dad over here, gave me that award in June of 1959.
Were you the first one to get the award?
I was the first one to get it. The student body didn't have anything to do with my award. Maybe later on they did, but with my award, they didn't vote on it. It wasn't a situation.
How did they select you then?
My recall was, I think that there was some form of committee. I don't know
I'm sure there was.
all the details on that. But I met Lee's dad. He was the finest man I've ever met, really a quality person. Later was a assemblyman of California, highly respected doctor and community leader. And his sister Twyla was on part of the Bible Club officer. She was one grade lower. They were just a wonderful family.
So was this the following year then that you got this, or was it the end of that first year?
Well,
when
58 was when
he was killed
Bob,
in the fall?
Yes, in the fall, and in end of 1959 when we were graduating, that's when I received the
And
award.
were you a senior that year?
I was a senior.
So you're the first person to get the award.
That's correct.
So what were your thoughts when you start finding out who's who here? What kind of an impact did this make?
Well,
You're here to be treated for cancer.
Right. We immediately embraced. I mean, it was like we were all of a sudden friends, and it just was just an amazing connection. We have our name tags, and our first name is on there. He didn't know my last name, but when the question was asked, did you may have known his brother Bob, and all my wife said was Bob, and he immediately said my last name, McLennan. And so we were both shocked, and it was I could see it in his eyes, and we literally embraced. And then we started talking about it, and I will tell you, we had lunch with each other the next day. We have lunch, and they bring in a picture of the newspaper clipping of my father handing him the first award. And I mean, I'm just taken back by this. He has pictures of my sister in the Bible Club. It's just an amazing connection. And like you said, this is providential. This just can't just be
over 50 years
accident.
ago.
56 years.
Yeah, 56 years ago.
Nothing happens by accident. So the two of you come here to be treated for cancer, and you renew or actually get acquainted for the very first time. So tell us about your journey here while you're being treated for cancer. What kind of problems were you having? What kind of symptoms were you having? What kind of an experience did you have?
very few symptoms with me. I just got it by a blood test, the PSA test, and then the diagnosis was made. And once that agonizing decision was made of what kind of treatment and where to go, it was Loma Linda all the way. The treatments were uneventful, other than I had to have extra balloons on one particular day, and that was not pleasant. But otherwise, no. It was a wonderful experience here at Loma Linda, and to make this connection with this outstanding guy right here. I believe we're going to be lifelong friends.
Absolutely.
I feel like I've gotten to know, frankly, something a little bit more about my brother that I didn't know at age 5, and I know that my family, my mom and dad, had to have highly respected this man here for him to receive that award.
Well, what a profound impact your brother must have made. I mean, he must have been a very outgoing, active Christian. wasn't hiding his light under a tree. He was actively living the life of following Jesus. So, what kind of an impact was this making on you?
You know, this oh my golly, so many paths, so many journeys here, so many facets. It's just been a wonderful experience for me. First of all, I want to thank you for being the captain. You captained the ship, and you did an outstanding job.
Thank you.
The second is that we just learned, oh my golly, nutrition, and we went through the process of looking into your positive output. I had a Gleason 8 and a PSA of over 12.
And for our patients that are looking, or for the audience that's looking on, that's a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive. The oncologist said that I was very fortunate to get it before it went into other areas. And I was just, come in, and then all of a sudden this whole new world opened up to me. One of the stories I would like to share is that when I was going we had to walk down kind of a hall to get to our pods, which we were going to get our treatments.
The pod, that's the positioning device to keep you in the same place.
And the proton treatment. I told my wife, I said, I have vision. I visualize that Jesus is holding my hand in my right hand. As I was walking down that aisle, I had a vision. He was holding my right hand. And she said to me, she says, I'm holding your left hand. And so it was extremely exciting. And the people themselves, we have lifetime friends that we met.
So you have a group of sick patients coming together to be treated for cancer.
Yes.
But you're bonding and developing lifelong friendships.
Oh my golly, we'd go to restaurants to eat, and people would come up to me and they say, who are you people? Who are you people? What are you doing? You're so happy. And I said, well, we have prostate cancer. You want to join us? And, no. So the point of it is that we were looking at the positive side. Jesus is our healer. Jesus is our one who gives us strength and encouragement and movement. He's holding our hands.
So isn't it amazing, even out of bad experiences, good can happen?
Absolutely.
And what a tremendous experience. Even out of the death of your brother, apparently, from what I'm hearing, as a result of his death and the testimony that he bore and the experience he had, other people became Christians.
Absolutely. Dave Nicholas, at the funeral, was witnessing to one of my best friends, to bring him to Christ, and he didn't want. He said, "I just don't want to do it." Later, he calls me up and he says, "I have a personal relationship with the Lord Jesus." Amen. And his family, and they're doing marvelous. And I tell you right now, it was an experience.
And Dave has gone on, and he's the head of the Shasta Bible College.
That's right, the president of the Shasta Bible College. He was the vice president of the Bible Club at that particular time.
Part of that nucleus.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So tell me, Lee, what kind of an impact has this had upon you and Patty that was here the whole time?
Well, again, it was a wonderful experience, and Loma Linda was just absolutely the right way to go. We have no regrets, and like you said, the contacts we made here have just been wonderful. I've already learned. Today is my first follow-up visit for my post-treatment follow-up. But
So at this point, it's been 4 months?
yes, I just got my blood drawn this morning, so I don't know the results yet. But I have heard from people who I've met there through the treatment that they've already had theirs, and every time I've heard the results, that they've been very positive, and they've been good. I did want to add that this, as I would observe in the proton waiting area for the treatments, I would observe some of the people would be somewhat timid and shy, but then there are those who would seek to encourage others, and Jim was that type. I observed him. He would seek to encourage the new patients that came for the treatments, and he would actually pray with them, and it was just admirable. But there was others too, and it was
That's
a bonding that was amazing. The bonding that occurred with this program is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
So one of the patients, Jim here, becomes a help to the other patient.
Absolutely.
Well, there was many. My wife Lori and Patty and others. That just seemed to be a marvelous nucleus of people wanting to help. And I forgot to tell you, I just had my blood test, and it went down. I had over a 12 PSA. It's gone down to 1.35.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you, Lord.
Well, we have people that are watching on television all around the country and around the world that just this week they've had some sobering news, some kind of a diagnosis, some kind of a traumatic injury. What would you tell them in the last minute or so that we have?
Oh my golly! I tell you, when you're facing cancer or a bad situation, it's devastating, and you have to not walk, but you have to run to the Lord. you don't walk, you don't hesitate. You run. You lay your whole soul down and just ask the Lord to help. Now, I'm thankful that my PSA is 1.35, but I know that there's others out there, they just need to run. The Lord is there. The Lord's going to help them. And I believe that wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart.
So when you're confronted with a tragedy, don't walk, but run to the Lord.
Amen.
Look to Him.
Amen.
And He's waiting there with open arms.
That's right.
Many times we'll take many different ways, but we need to look to the Lord and put our trust completely in Him.
Amen.
Both of you are an amazing testimony of how God has His hand over people's lives. And we never walk alone. He's always there. If we look up to Him, He'll guide and direct. He's brought the two of you together, and I know that He's not through with you yet. Your testimony is going to continue on. For our listening audience, God has a plan for your life too. If you'll give Him an opportunity, He's waiting. He says, come to me just now.